So I wanted to make a video on composition specifically regarding the hitboxes that darkegg uses. You can see them right here. Almost everything in this game needs hitboxes. There's tons of things that need hitboxes. All of these are hitboxes. And normally if there's something we want to reuse to avoid having to code it over and over, we'll use something like inheritance, where basically the code written for the topmost object will then be inherited by all the child objects underneath. We have one example right here. This is code given by the element. And now, because the clickable element is underneath element, it just absorbs this and runs this code as well. But the problem is all these different things don't actually have any relationships with each other. Not necessarily. All of these are elements, but all of these are skill nodes, something completely different. And they also need hitboxes. So inheritance is out. Usually the next step is something like functions. These also can repeat code. But functions only really work when we're targeting a single task. And hitboxes are a bit too complicated. There's just way too many moving parts. We have to worry about where the borders of the hitbox are. We have to worry about what actions we're actually pulling for, whether it's the mouse click, whether you're just holding the mouse or looking for the mouse release, if maybe the mouse is just hovering over it, right, et cetera, et cetera. We have to also worry about what we need to do. It could literally be anything, just showing the description or starting a round of combat. We have to worry about playing the sound effects, like these little clicks when you hover over them, and changing the mouse cursor so we get that little hand point. What it ends up meaning is that every single different object has their own specific code. Over here we've got left press, released, all these 4 different things. That's unique to them. The clickable element then, and this is the other thing too, the element system itself, only clickable elements have this specific code, which then has another specific exception case for certain types, the bar element specifically. Then coming down, we've got this crazy big if statement, all this extra code. Nodes then end up having their own specific hitbox information again. And this time it's in an alarm, which means it works even differently. And because they extend off of interactables, then we have specific code that ignores the mouse enter and leave, but still inherits the left press and release. That's confusing. Naturally, if all of these have their own individual code, it means it's really difficult to actually update anything because brand new features have to be added in multiple places. I have to remember to add them. Weird bugs can come in because sometimes you might forget something here or add one extra thing there. There's requirements. Each different thing has their own different requirements over what they're looking for. Some need to be visible, others need to be visible and active, and something else might need to be visible, active, and also have existence or some, third variable. So this is me fixing it now. A rather large script. Essentially what we're using is composition here. We are creating a brand new object called clicker. It is a clicker object, and clicker objects can be added to any individual instance that already exists. All you have to do is just give them the clicker create function, and then in their step event, you have to give them the clicker step, which is right here. If you put in these 2 things, clicker create in the create event, clicker step in the step event, what you've done now is you've basically said, okay, we're gonna offload all of your hitbox functionality to this clicker system. And this clicker system now has a number of different features, the enable levels as well as events. And I'm not gonna get into the details of all those because those could also be their own video. But as for how the clicker works, we have a state machine that we run through. Every single step, we will check where you are and then adjust behavior accordingly. We have the basic state of none. That means nothing's happening. And if the mouse actually collides with this object, then we will go to event on. This means we just started hovering. From there, we immediately go on the very first frame, we jump to hover. From this is the one that then will repeat for as long as you hover. So we have a single frame where we will try doing things the first time you hover. Then we will just hold this for however long. If you ever press, then we jump here. If you ever then decide to hold, rather, I should say it works the same way at the first time. You press first frame, then it will automatically move to hold, and now we check if you have a release. If you do, we go to click. Probably a bad naming convention, but too late. Then from here, we do 1 frame, and we will move back to hover. Right, and we stay here because that's also true. You're also still hovering while you're clicking and releasing, so that'll just keep looping forever, right? You click again, press, hold, release, jump back. Press hold, and if you ever then decide to go off, we jump out and go to event type off, and then we do whatever we need to do to reset everything, and then we jump back to none. In order to make sure we have the ability to trigger whatever we want to trigger, we have these executes that run at every single step, and the execute basically runs this perform events function. This will take any events that the linked object has, and it will run those events if they happen to be in these certain event blocks. So if you have an event type off function that you need to run, this is where it'll run it. These events are then declared in whatever object that they need as such. Just add event, give me the event type, and then tell me what you want to do. Almost always just a simple function. You can throw in arguments as needed, but usually it'll just be do something. And so with this system as it is, it's actually very versatile. It means all objects now can run the clickers, and they can all define their own unique requirements as needed, right? They can say what they need in order to be clicked and what they want to do. Also, GameMaker does have these built-in functions that help with hitboxes. In case you're wondering why I don't use these all imply the hitbox of whatever sprite you're using, and we don't usually use the sprite's hitbox, basically. So if you ask mouse enter, GameMaker says, okay, if your sprite is 32 by 32, that's the image that will be shown from this object, then the little box that you can hit is 32 by 32. Probably the easiest way to show this is just with an example. So right here, this is where the basic default stuff would have worked, because this is just a simple sprite hitbox. If I'm touching it, it works. Otherwise, it doesn't, right? Very simple. This would not work. This is not a sprite. This is just raw text. There is no hitbox here. There's no sprite, which means if we use the default stuff, there'd be nothing to click. You can probably fake that a little bit, but what about this one? It's even worse. The sprite is down here. We need special code that says the hitbox is actually here, not here. I guess you don't need it, but it would feel a bit weirder. And I decided that this felt way more intuitive to hover over the actual text. So I guess that's it. I kind of forgot to make an ending, so I'm just recording one now. I guess, yeah, composition and action, hitboxes are jank. It's a lot of stuff to work with sometimes, and trying to find better coding practices, I guess. Anyway, thanks for watching. I guess like and subscribe, leave a comment below. Maybe I'm turning into a real YouTuber now, and I guess I'll see you guys next time.